Friday means it's time for our Arts and Culture segment. Joining me is our culture correspondent, Song Yoo-jin. Welcome back to the studio, Yoo-jin.
It's great to be back, Chungmin.
What do you have for us today?
Well, last week I brought you the story of the historic Joseon envoys and how their centuries-old mission is being recreated. That is them going to Japan. And this week I have the next chapter of that journey, this time from Busan, where the envoys once boarded ships and where a restored Tongsinsa vessel is now making a symbolic voyage to Japan. The final stop on Korean soil for the Joseon-Tongsinsa, Korea's diplomatic missions to Japan during the 17th to 19th centuries, was the port city of Busan. After arriving from Seoul, hundreds of envoys boarded ships bound for Japan. Every year, this historic moment is revived through the Joseon-Tongsinsa festival. Dressed in traditional Korean attire, hundreds of participants marched through Busan, retracing the footsteps of the original envoys.
It's my first time participating, but it really made me reflect more deeply on Korea's relationship with Japan, such as the colonial era.
When I filled the form for this event, I did look it up, and it was a good historical piece that I got to know. Yeah.
And completing the recreation, the Tongsinsa ship has also been meticulously brought back to life. So this is a vessel that was modeled after the original Tongsinsa ship setting sail for Japan. By mid-May, it will arrive in its final destination, Osaka. This marks the first time in 261 years that the route to Osaka is being taken. The man behind this reconstruction is Hong Sun-jae, who has spent a decade bringing the historic vessel back to life. Since 2015, he has collected historical documents, studied ancient ship models, and traveled across the country to find the right timber. The ship launched in 2018, made its first voyage to Japan in 2023, and this year it's heading farther than ever before.
This year marks 60 years since South Korea and Japan normalized diplomatic ties. Our ship will hold an arrival ceremony in Osaka on May 13th, Korea Day at the Osaka World Expo. Through this journey, we hope to promote peace and remind people that our two countries share a long history of connection, not just conflict.
Having departed from Busan on April 28th, the ship will visit multiple ports in Japan, hosting exhibitions and performances just as the Joseon-Tongsinsa envoys did centuries ago to share Korean culture.
Yoo-jin, you mentioned in your report how the Tongsinsa ship will host exhibitions and performances during its stay in Japan. Can you tell us more about how that'll work?
Sure. So I first want to mention that unlike the original Tongsinsa missions, this time the ship will only carry the 7 designated crew members. So what I mean by is, as for the performers who will be performing traditional Korean performances in Japan, they will travel separately and then they will join the ship at various ports based on the performance schedule. Now, curator Hong says he wanted to create an onboard museum. So talking about the exhibition, the team filled the ship's interior with pictures and props, really telling the story and the history of the Joseon-Tongsinsa, such as how the ship was built. And I want to mention that a floating museum like this you're seeing on the screen is incredibly rare.
And that leads to my next question. So where can people in Japan stay the ship, enjoy the experiences, performances, and experience the exhibitions?
So according to the sailing schedule offered by the National Research Institute of Maritime Heritage, the ship is currently in Kaminoseki, Yamaguchi Prefecture. And tomorrow it's scheduled to sail to Kure, where the first major public events in Japan will take place on Monday, May 5th. And that day will feature a welcoming ceremony, the opening of the onboard exhibition, and also a series of traditional Korean performances. And from there, the ship will continue along the route that you are seeing on the screen right now. And after arriving in Osaka in mid-May, it will then retrace its path back to Korea and is expected to return to Busan on May 27th.
So as you've mentioned in both last week's and this week's reports, the ship's arrival in Osaka this year carries special significance.
Right.
It seems like there's a full lineup of events planned when it gets there.
Definitely. So May 13th, as mentioned in my report, is the big day. So in the morning, there will be a welcoming ceremony with the local residents of Osaka, and that will be followed by a marching procession like the one featured in my report, but that will take place on the grounds of the Osaka World Expo, which is currently taking place right now. And I want to mention that I'll be on site covering those events, so please stay tuned for that coverage as well.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Yoo-jin, for the report.
Always a pleasure.